was that these people were sophisticated, that there was fucking crazy types of technology before us.
But the problem is they looking for
Proving is that we don't know shit.
You see what I'm saying, though?
Nothing. We can never
They look,
prove
yeah, that's what it is.
We'll never know.
They denying it because there's no documentation.
We're never gonna know.
Who has the answers?
And welcome everyone to the gobeklitepe podcast. Wow, we always have a fucking hard time saying that word, don't we? Welcome everyone. What is this, week 9? Or are we on week 10? I don't know. What is it?
Week 9.
We're on week 10? Is that a fact? No, we're on week 9. Okay.
Yeah, 9.
Week 9 right now. Thanks for listening if you've been so far. Shout out to all the people. Coming at you from New York is me, Juan Rebufo. Catch me at Instagram at I Feel Like Juan Pablo. And you have Juan Marilis, who's coming to you from Berkeley in California. And he's at Berovoso. Anyways, our Instagrams will be in the description below as usual. But welcome back to another episode. Juan, how are you feeling today?
I'm good. Weather's nice here. It's relaxing. Not much going on otherwise.
Yeah, I can't say the exact same thing, considering there's currently a heat wave going on in New York. So anyone listening from New York, you already know that it's fucking terrible. Except if you're in New York, you most likely have an AC. I unfortunately do not have an AC, and neither does anyone who fucking lives in my building. So we're currently dying. And of course, me being me, I'm recording in my room, and fans make a lot of sound. So I'm currently operating with one fan that has, what is it at? It's at stage 1, so it's like a little breeze on my face. So it's pretty intense out here, but you know, we got to keep the podcast going. Sorry for the delay. 100% on me. I've had a busy week as an RA at NYU. Shout out to NYU. Shout out to the RA position. I'm blessed here. Shout out to any residents who might be listening. But yeah, it's just been a very long week, and I've been through a lot of training and a lot of whatnot. But we're back, and we have watched Crazy Rich Asians, which will be our topic of the week. And yeah, for now, I think we should delve right into some steamy updates. No pun intended, because I'm in a fucking steamy ass room right now. But yeah, steamy updates this week. So we've been keeping up with the story for a pretty long time, and I'm glad that we have been, because I think it's an interesting one. Guardians of the Galaxy has stopped production, if y'all haven't heard about that yet. But it has stopped production. There has been some sort of complication with parts of the crew, and they've been given the opportunity to go and seek other job opportunities in the meantime. So we have that movie on stop right now. We don't know what's going to go on. And I think that's pretty much the status of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Unfortunately,
it's almost certain. It's almost certain that it's going to go on. I mean, Marvel's got the money. They'll delay it for a while, and then they'll get something.
No, I agree. I think that it's not something that will be stopped. I think that the Marvel and the whole superhero fad is not going to die just yet. So definitely the movie will continue, but for now we're seeing a delay. And of course, I mean, it started with the whole James Gunn thing, and it continued with that, and now we see a temporary delay for now. We'll say that.
Speaking of delays, there's also been a delay on Bond 25, which is the 25th movie in the Bond franchise, specifically because Danny Boyle, who was set to direct it, has dropped out.
No way.
This movie has gone through so much bullshit. Daniel Craig had said before that he would rather slit his wrists than do another James Bond movie, and yet I guess they offered him enough money to do one. But also, this movie doesn't have a director. It doesn't really have a story yet. And it was set to come out in, I think, 2 years, so it was going to start filming this year, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna.
Oh, man. That's really upsetting, actually, considering I love Danny Boyle. He's kind of underrated, in my opinion. He directed The Beach, which I thought was an underrated DiCaprio movie. He directed the 28 Days Later franchise, which I thought was amazing.
Did he do 127 Hours? Was that him?
I'm not sure, but he did direct Slumdog, and I thought that was a great movie as well. So it's kind of sad. I think that's why we haven't really been hearing much about that franchise, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's been a while since Spectre. Well, not that long, but like
Long enough that we haven't heard shit otherwise from the franchise.
yeah, and I mean, it's supposed to be a big one because, you know, James Bond's 25th movie and Daniel Craig's last one, and I mean, a lot of people might be excited for it. Looking back, I thought Spectre was all right, but I think I just got overhyped by the whole spy craze that I have. I mean, it wasn't a Mission Impossible, just saying.
Yeah. No, and the other thing is this, like, I think that the other complication is that there's being a sort of a push to have get out with the Daniel Craig and then kind of just like they want to cast like the first James Bond like that's like a person of color, and I've heard these rumors throughout this year in particular. So that might be another complication going on with that too.
It doesn't seem like they're going to do that for the 25th because Craig's got a contract for the 4 movies or whatever.
Fair enough.
So they're going to do this one. But, it's 5 movies? 5 movies. Jeez, what a long contract. But yeah, so it just seems like they're going to do this movie with him, but they might be looking into a new one.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so moving on from that, I did want to mention a couple of releases this week in music. So Bass, who's on Dreamville on J. Cole's label, released a new album called Milky Way, which I've heard is very good. E40, classic E40, released an album called The Gift of Gab, which I've seen people playing it. I've had friends that are telling me that it's worth listening to. I'm actually a fan of E40 despite his interesting style, but I haven't given it a listen yet, but I want to. Slime Language by Young Thug, we've spoken about this already, but it's getting some pretty good feedback, and I think it's worth mentioning just because not just the way that it's being promoted, but also because I'm hearing that the album is doing well. So that's that. Youngboy Never Broke Again also has released something new. Youngboy I'm a fan of. He's also like coming up sort of, and he's a SoundCloud-ish rapper, I want to say, so I won't give it too much give him too much flack for that. But yeah, we're still seeing Travis Scott in the trends. His album just went platinum, which is crazy to think about. Obviously Drake is still forefronting. Drake and Virgil Abloh actually had a show in New York Sunday night, and that shit was crazy. Virgil being the fashion director of Off-White and the new director obviously of Louis Vuitton, and then you have Drake, of course. We all know who Drake is. So yeah, I thought that was pretty sick. I wish I could have gone, but I was working, so I can't say anything about that. Actually, a lot of beef coming out with Nicki Minaj, which is interesting because she seems to be blaming just about everyone for her her projected album sales being a lot higher than what they actually are in real time. She debuted at number 2 when fighting against Travis Scott for the number 1 debut. And I gotta say, like, if you had told me whether Nicki or Travis were gonna hit number 1, like which of the two, it would be I would have a very hard debating between the two. Even though I want to say that I'm a slightly bigger Travis fan. I love Nicki Minaj, but like I'm a slightly bigger Travis fan. I would have put my money on him. But I think that Nicki Minaj commands the pop scene way stronger. And so one would think that her album would have peaked higher than his did. But there's some beef with her and Travis, of course. She's been calling out a lot of people. And I think part of it shouldn't be shunned, just because I think she's also making a couple of valid points in terms of like females in the music industry versus like males and like all this other shit. I think it's good for people to check out what she's saying. I know she's saying a lot of bullshit, but a lot of stuff I think is being missed about her talking about just the way the music industry works. So yeah, if anyone wants to continue that story, I highly suggest you do so, just for the information. Lastly, I just wanted to mention one thing on my end, which is that Spike Lee finally did get around to responding to Boots Riley, and we covered this in our Black Klansman episode. We went heavily in depth into the way that Boots Riley analyzed the film, the way he critiqued the film, and just his honest thoughts. He didn't hold anything back, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
And I think it was a great discussion. And so now
we just thought we'd want to continue it.
Yeah. I thought it was a great discussion. I think Spike has responded, and I wanted to share those words because I think that he has responded in a way that I think is formidable. Anyways, we're gonna leave that towards the end of the episode, because I feel like it's a good little mini topic of the week discussion, and that's pretty much it for me on my end. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before we delve into Crazy Rich Asians?
Yeah, the only thing that I wanted to mention was specifically because I've kind of seen him pop up a lot in I've been watching Parks and Rec, and what's his name, Louis C.K. has been showing up in that, and it's kind of weird with all the allegations to kind of see him on screen again. Right. He's actually just come back and done his first performance, his first stand-up performance since the allegations, which I mean is pretty interesting that he's trying to restart his career, or at least continue his career, and I mean, it just makes you wonder whether or not how it'll go in today's society. It's kind of a new thing for someone to be so shunned, right? Like, I don't know if we'll ever see another man, I'm blanking on his name. How?
You're talking about yeah, I know who you're talking about.
The viewers don't. Baby Driver.
Yes, okay. Oh shoot, I'm also blanking on his name too. I just keep thinking of Steve Harvey. I don't know why.
I mean, Steve Harvey's pretty crazy too, but god damn, how is this even happening?
Just literally all you have
yeah,
to
no, I'm looking him up real quick.
Yeah, because we can't not mention it. Now we're just
Kevin Spacey. This is insane.
There you go.
How did I forget Kevin Spacey's name? Okay, anyway, I don't think I'm ever gonna see another big Kevin Spacey movie come out because of the allegations, so it's really interesting to see. I wonder how it's gonna go for Louis C.K., who at his high point I think was well regarded as one of the best stand-up comedians out there. So that's why that's one of the more interesting comedians that has, or I don't know, one of the more interesting celebrities that has been outed in this whole scenario. And I think that the whole movement is an absolute, like, it's very, very needed. So I really wonder what's going to happen and whether or not he'll continue to prosper, because you've seen there's been a lot of allegations against TJ Miller. You've heard about those, right? Yeah, but he's still, I mean, I guess he's not thriving, but he was still in Deadpool 2. He'll probably be in Deadpool 3, and he was even in Ready Player One, which is like, I don't know, I just feel like TJ Miller's still everywhere. Like, he hasn't disappeared.
Yeah, I think since Deadpool 2 he's been a bit more under the radar, and I think that like you can track that on his Instagram, because he hasn't been getting the same level of attention as he had been before all the bullshit. Because I used to follow him, and then I unfollowed him because he's just fucking annoying, honestly. I used to love TJ Miller, but I found it difficult to scroll through my feed and be like, oh my god, whose annoying post is this? And it would be TJ Miller's, and I was like, yikes. TJ, like, I love you, but
Thanks for listening, TJ Miller.
Yeah.
Famous comedian TJ Miller.
Yeah. In the off chance that he listens to this and shuns his podcast, I'm sorry, but that's just a fact. Like, you can't be doing stupid shit like that. And
Yeah, no, he got. I don't know. I think he got dropped out of Silicon Valley, but I don't know if he left.
No,
Silicon
he
Valley.
left Silicon Valley. He left Silicon Valley because he wanted to do. Okay, well, actually, this is the story, right? This is the story that he gave during a Conan interview, which is that he left Silicon Valley because for one, he was tired of it, and for two, he was doing the Emoji Movie. Now, listening to that, right? You're thinking you're fucking stupid, because why would you leave Silicon Valley for the Emoji Movie? However, when you put it into context with maybe he left because he was fucking forced to leave because of allegations, that makes more sense. You know what I mean? And it's like a good cover up that he said, I'm leaving for the Emoji Movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I don't know what the case is. I haven't delved enough of it in it, but TJ, if you're listening, I love you as an artist, but I can't support you, especially because okay, this is a bit of a tangent, but I'm not a huge fan of what's this other
The
film?
Emoji Movie.
He's a huge he backs her up OD, and like to me, like I can't do it.
Wait, what?
Wait. She's the comedian from Trainwrecked. Her name is, I'm looking at it. Okay, Amy Schumer. You know Amy Schumer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I have a big problem with Amy Schumer because Amy Schumer...
Well, she still just steals jokes, but...
Yeah, well, for one... Okay, that's the thing that irked me the most. She steals jokes left and right, and she denies the allegations, and there are video compilations that show where she's taking the jokes from, who she's taking the jokes from, and I think as a comedian, that's extremely disappointing, because, like... comedians, you know, like a lot of times they're pulling these jokes from like life stories, and for you to just watch these comedians and be like, okay, I love them, but to the point where you're like, let me take their stories and just mold them into my own, I think is a little sad.
Absolutely, yeah.
I also don't think that she's promoting, I don't know, I don't like her agenda. I think the last controversy that I saw her in was that she had blasted this person on her social media, because he was walking down the street, and I think he had noticed her, and he decided that he wanted to take a selfie with her, and she had said no. And so mind you, this is in the public, right? Like, she's walking down the street, she's not in a private residence, she's not anything. She's walking down the street, and she said, no, I don't want to take a photo with you. So the guy, as he's walking away, took a selfie with like he took a selfie, and she was in the photo in the background. Mm-hmm. She spotted it, and she got really mad, and she started calling him out, being like, this guy is sexually harassing me, he's fucking like, he touched me, like he's doing these things like without me like telling him yes, like he's fucking disgusting, like all of you on my social media should like, this is his account, you should go fucking blast him, like fucking just hate on him. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like as a self-proclaimed like feminist, like you're ruining feminism, you know what I mean? Like,
crazy. I hadn't heard about this.
I'm a huge feminist, and like I believe in, like, obviously I believe in, I mean, I go down to my YouTube, so like, shocker, right? But like I'm a huge obviously believer in like social justice, human rights, and all that shit, and I just hate that there are like certain bad apples, right, like Amy Schumer, who crossed the line of like what it means to be a proactive feminist versus like someone who's just being fucking annoying. And I think that's what she comes off to me as. Controversial opinion, I guess. I don't know. Some people may like her, some people may not. I'm also not a fan of raunchy comedy. So even before I knew she was stealing jokes, I was not a fan of her comedy. Much like I like comedians who know how to make you laugh without needing to necessarily curse every 5 seconds or talk about their penis or their like pussy or like whatever and like make it a whole thing. That's just me personally. But yeah, after all the shit that I was hearing about Amy Schumer, and again, this is a tangent, but going back to it, TJ Miller is obsessed with Amy Schumer and constantly shouts her out on his social media, and that to me was like, okay, that's just like the last straw. Mm-hmm. Like I can't support this. Anyways, bit of a tangent.
Big tangent. But guess you know who else is in Silicon Valley?
What, Middleditch?
the Asian guy.
Oh,
Jin
oh.
Yang.
Yeah.
Jin Yang, and you know what else Jin Yang is in? Crazy Rich Asians. Let's
There
get
you
into
go.
it.
Perfect transition. I love it. Okay, so right now we're gonna get into our Crazy Rich Asians discussion topic of the week. So get ready for that. I wanted to say super quickly, yeah, we're gonna start with no spoilers. So let's do our let's do a little recap, shall we, of the film, right? Let's talk about the storyline a little bit for those who don't know, and then I'll give a little background as to the importance of the film within within the American context and within Hollywood. So Juan, if you want to start with a bit of a plot not summary, but just like what you see in the trailer, I guess, right?
Yeah, sure. So you've got the main character, Rachel.
Nick Young and
Nah, he's not the main character.
well, okay, he's one of them, but you're talking about his girlfriend.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you got main character, Rachel, played by
Mhm.
Constance Wu.
Mm-hmm.
And she is an American teacher at NYU. She looks like she's
Yeah.
like in her 20s, and somehow she's teaching at NYU, which is crazy.
Yeah, she's in the movie. She is the youngest teacher at NYU, so that's how they get. I guess that's a loophole, right?
I mean, fair, but
Still.
it takes at least 4 years to get your PhD,
Right.
and
that's
then
fair.
you gotta get a professorship. Nah.
Yeah.
Anyway, she teaches game theory at NYU, and she's in a relationship with this guy. His name's Nick Young. He's played by some guy that I've never heard of before, named Henry Golding. They have been dating for a year now, and he has to go to his best friend's wedding. And he wants to go to his best friend's wedding and take her, but his best friend's wedding is in Singapore, which is where he's from, and he wants to take her with him. So she decides to go with him, and that's when she finds out he's crazy rich because his family owns a lot of real estate.
Yeah. They've been in the game
and-
for a while, basically.
Yeah. So because they're so rich, they're really well known in Asia, one of the most well known families in Asia. And
If not the most.
Yeah. And she goes there, and she's got to deal with his eccentric family, his friends, and pretty much just kind of the whole situation that she's been put in, because he's actually in line to inherit all of this crazy amounts of money and property and the business.
Right.
So,
And I think that's a good little breakdown of the plot of the film. Of course,
it's a rom-com.
Yep. Rom-com.
Take a friend, enjoy it, shed
Yeah.
some tears.
Yeah, no. I think the only other thing I would mention is just that the main conflict arises, of course, besides her having to adapt to this lavish life that he had never really exposed her to. I think that the main thing is the conflict between her and his mother. And we get to see that through the film, and I think that's it, right? It's a rom-com, it's a what's it called, girlfriend versus in-law mother kind of thing, but there's more to it, obviously, and yeah,
I mean,
I think that's
it's
good.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say, wait, okay, go ahead, what do you want to say?
I mean, I just feel like if you go in expecting a rom-com, that's what you're gonna get. It's very by the numbers, other than the fact that it's an all Asian cast. Right.
And this is where I'd like to explain more so the context of the film and why it matters, why I think it's a good it's a good fit for the podcast this week. And we've talked about this before, right? But just to reiterate, it is the first major blockbuster film that has an entirely Asian cast, and obviously for Hollywood that's a big thing because hasn't been done before. We see a lack of diversity within Hollywood, and of course I think while me and you talk about the Latinos not getting shit in Hollywood, I think that unfortunately, like, Asians just never even get to see the stereotyped roles the way we even see them. And so to see this kind of like prosper in and kind of come in, and they denied, this is what I learned, they denied I believe it was a Netflix deal. They were going to get paid more.
I told you this last week.
Yes, exactly. There you go. Oh, you mentioned this to me. Good. Yeah. So to reiterate, they were going to be paid more for that deal, and they declined it because they wanted a wide release. I think it was a good idea. I think it's a good representation flick. And I think after watching it, without spoiling, obviously, it does a good job of being Hollywood while still integrating Asian culture in the film and not necessarily alienating any audience member that isn't Asian. That's just my opinion. I don't think that as a Latino I felt alienated watching it. I understood everything, and overall, like, we'll get into the opinions, but yeah, I think that it did a really good job at integrating culture. I think it did a good job at highlighting Asian diversity within like Hollywood, and really like putting that at the forefront of the film. And I think as a rom-com, it stuck to the classic template, and I think that if you like that, you'll enjoy the film. And especially, I think it fits very well into the template of Asian rom-coms, because we know American rom-coms.
Is that a template?
It really fits. It's yeah. There's like it, you know, like rom-coms have like a template for the way that they're done, right? Like
yeah, but
a
why
lot of
Asian
American rom-coms feel not the same, but it's like predictable, right? Like, you know what's gonna happen. And Asian film, right, has a lot of rom-coms that they don't follow a template per se, but like, you know what you're getting into. And this is like, again, I'm not talking on behalf of myself, I'm just talking on behalf of opinions that I've gotten from Asian friends who frequently watch TV shows and films, like rom-com related Asian flicks, whether it be Chinese, Korean, Japanese, etc. And this very much fits within that mold. So if you're familiar with that kind of storytelling, then this is like a film for you to watch. So yeah, is there any other comments about that?
Yeah, I've gotten feedback from a few friends that have watched it, Chinese friends that have watched it, where they say that, I mean, just the way that the character interactions were created, the way that some characters talk to each other, or what they say to each other, or how they react to each other, is very, very well done, very realistic, and like kind of hits close to home.
Okay.
And I think that's something that is there particularly for the Asian American that's watching. Apparently it's just really, really easy and to relate to, and just kind of like it hits close to home for a lot of Asian Americans that, or at least Chinese Americans that I've talked to. So that's actually something that apparently was really, really well done. So I mean, we can't speak firsthand, but from what I hear, if you're a Chinese American, go watch it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that really sits in with the point of them wanting to have it be a wide release, just particularly because there are a lot of relatable moments, and you can really feel that. I mean, not me and you, but from other feedback, you can really feel that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's as much as I want to talk about without spoiling it. I do want to delve into some logistical things with the film, but my overall saying, I'm a lover of rom-coms, but I thought this film was okay. If you want me to delve into that, controversial opinion, of course, because everyone that has watched it around me has loved it. Controversial opinion, I thought it was like, that's just me. On my meter, it's but
so what are our rating systems, just real quick? Like, I8 is probably like mid.
Yeah, I want to say like I is like mid.
Is good is like our top. Is good.
No. Is good is like an 8,
okay.
Like nearing a 9. Ish Go One is like a 10.
All right,
like
cool.
9-10. Ish Go One is like high up there.
All right, so Ish Go One is like my Sorry to Bother You, like the best movie of the year for me. But
yeah. And then I think That Shit Hurt It is like a fucking 2. You know, like you were just scraping through the fucking movie the whole time.
And like an oof is just like the Meg.
Where you can't really give it a number, so you're like, oof.
Nah, but I love the Meg. You already know.
Yeah, I know. I have
Yo,
to watch this one.
shitty movies coming back next week.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm a fan. But yeah, for me, it was a night. Crazy Rich Asians was a night. I'll get to more logistical stuff about it later. After this.
Yeah, I'd give it an is good. I really enjoyed the film. I wouldn't say it was one of my favorites of the year, but honestly, it's just because I've never been super into rom-coms.
Right.
But of the rom-coms that I've watched, it's one of the few that has kept me entertained throughout. And just kind of like, I don't know, is something that I would probably watch again if like it was on or something. Because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. I thought that the characters were great. I thought that there were some, I mean, there weren't really, like, there was a twist, but then that I didn't see coming, but then like the twist resolved itself in a way that like it might as well not have happened. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But like the way the story was crafted, I did think that there were some things that were unnecessary, but I guess that's from the book, and it was to show a different point of view. And from what I hear, it's like more necessary in the book, which we'll talk about more in the spoilers. That being said, I really enjoyed the movie. Like, it wasn't something that, like, you know, was laugh out loud funny all the time, but at the same time, I thought that it really did well to kind of represent this big cultural shift for Rachel going back to Singapore, and kind of like I really enjoyed a lot of the directional choices that the director made. Just some of the cinematography, some of the ways that, like, I think early on in the movie there was like a almost montage-ish section where they're like sending texts across the world that I thought was awesome.
I thought that was cool, actually. The editing, yeah.
A lot of the editing really, really worked for me. I thought that there was a lot of unique stuff in this film that I really liked, which is what set it apart for me. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard rom-com. But the thing is that I don't like rom-coms. I've tried watching the ones that people are saying or that people say are good. One of my ex-girlfriends and I tried to watch Love Actually, and we got about halfway through, and then we were like, nah, screw this. Like, that's not what I'm about. And then we watched something else. I don't remember what. But I mean, like, I've just never really been able to enjoy rom-coms, and I was really happy that I enjoyed this one. And yeah, I do think that it did some unique stuff that made it stand out. I don't think it's one of the best movies of the year, but I think for what it represents and for what it is, it's a great movie.
Okay.
So, is good.
I can accept that. All right. That being said, at this very point right now, we're going to start talking about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, please go watch it before you listen, because we will be talking about the more intricate pieces of the film, and we don't want you to get spoiled. So,
that being said, before you leave, people that have not seen the film, I mean, it's a rom-com that goes almost exactly the way you expect it to. So if you do hear this section and are still on the border and are, like, you know, not too worried about hearing how it ends, then maybe just you could stick with it, because honestly, it just seems like it's not one of those movies where you really, really should watch it before knowing any spoilers. Like I mean, you know, if I heard the spoiler for Sorry to Bother You, I would have been real, like, upset. It would take away from the experience.
Yeah.
But if you heard something about this film, you would like, the plot wise, like, you would not be, if anything, the only way this film really surprises you is with editing, with cinematography, and with just, like, kind of general awe. But again, that comes from watching it, right? Like, the glorification of wealth, and kind of how fancy it is, but also, like, how it's kind of satirical, and it's a really interesting film visually. And you can't really get that from listening to this, even if we tell you exactly what happens. So, Again, if you're on the fence, you could stay.
That's true. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a good point to mention. It's not. There's nothing in the movie that's like plot-wise that's game-changing enough for you to be turned off if you listen to it. That being said, though, spoiler section starts right now. I gotta
remember
say,
when Rachel dies?
yeah, LOL. You just fucked everyone over now. Imagine. Okay, I gotta say, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think. Here's my biggest turn off of the film. Because I'm gonna say again, controversial opinion, I was not a fan. I was not a fan because out of the 2 hours of the film, at its 2-hour runtime, it took about an hour and 10 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes for the real conflict, the conflict that you see in the trailer, to kick in. Like the conflict between the in-law and Rachel, it took literally an hour and 15 to set in, and a lot of things were, in my opinion, underdeveloped or very lazily put together. I'm not going to run through the whole film because I know we're going to start piece by piece, but as we keep talking about it, I'm just going to keep mentioning it. There are a lot of little plot armor situations in the film which I think are stupid. Again, I'm not here to criticize the cinematography because I thought it was nice. I thought the direction was nice. I thought the editing was cool, but I don't think that was enough to save it for me, considering I love rom-coms, but I was sitting there fucking bored. And I don't think it was as funny as it could have been, because the characters have a lot of charisma, in my opinion, especially Aquafina, who's her best friend, and the other one guy who was like the gay stylist. I thought he was phenomenal. His name is Nico Santos, but he plays Carrie Chu in the film. I thought that those characters were phenomenal, but we didn't really see much of that. However, I will say, this is what happens a lot of the times in movie adaptations, right? I was talking to, shout outs to one of my bosses, but I was talking to her today about, because she's finishing reading, I think it's the third book, I think it's the final one, I'm not entirely sure, but she's reading the third book, almost done with it. And she said that in watching the film after having read the books, there's a lot that's changed, right? Like a lot of things, obviously, for the sake of a decent runtime, and I guess for production budget, we see what's it called? Nick Young's proposal in the airplane, which did not happen in the book, but did happen in the film. I thought that was very lazy, but again, for production budget and whatnot, I can understand the choice. I just didn't like it. Additionally, there were some characters that were just cut altogether. I thought that, oh yeah, and she also mentioned how Carrie Chu, his character had a lot more like witty humor in like the books and whatnot, and he was a much more integral character in like the story, whereas in the film you don't really see much from him, and I think that's what the film lacked, in my opinion, that didn't make it as funny. A lot of it was very serious. I thought a lot of the conversations tended to be a little predictable and stale, which I guess for a rom-com, maybe I'm asking for a little too much, but for the plot to have developed after a whole ass hour of me just sitting there, that to me, like, just turned me off. You know what I mean? That's my opinion, but I want you to talk now, and you tell me what you felt.
I mean, a completely different side of this. I really loved a lot of the character interactions. Ken Jeong, very good in the movie. I thought he was really funny. He wasn't really in it much, but I thought that he did a good job as usual. Jimmy O Yang, who's Jin Yang in Silicon Valley, was probably one of my favorite characters in this movie. He was so extravagant, so extra, and was wasting his money so much, and it just made me really happy to watch, because everyone else, I mean, the Nick Young's brothers, was it Nick? Sorry.
Yeah, Nick Young.
Yeah, Nick Young's brothers, I mean, while they were kind of extravagant and like kind of like one of them was clearly wasting his money to be with like a porn star, and then the other one was like a dick, but like this guy was like the best. I mean, he was the most satirical representation of a rich guy that I've ever seen, and it was amazing, especially when he was like up on the cruise ship in a Speedo firing an RPG.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
fucking incredible. When the girl gets launched back and she definitely died, I thought that was really funny. I mean, I don't know. I thought that there was that. As for comedic relief, they were really good, and obviously Aquafina. I mean, she's getting a lot of praise for this. She did a great job. She was one of the better characters in this movie, like especially just her reactions to things and like her suits, her like dog print suits that she's wearing all the time. Her family is just absolutely great. Her brother's super creepy, but also really great. And like just her mom's hospitality and Ken Jeong kind of like playing with the whole, like, because they're rich, and one of my favorite jokes was, don't you know there are kids starving in America, which is so stupid but so great. I mean, like, this as far as satirical comedy went, I mean, I really hope that a lot of this was satirical. I've heard that the books are very satirical, because there was a lot of glorification of wealth, but there was a lot of like, man, look what these dumb people are doing. Like, did you see Aquafina's house? Like, they were Trump's bathroom, right? Like, it was just so bizarre and so like gold plated and like so kind of like extra for no other purpose other than being extra. And it was actually, I thought, hilarious. Every time they kind of like showed that, I thought that. See, there was also the wedding, which I loved because of the cinematography and like how it was filmed, but it was also just kind of like how the whole place was set up. I thought it was like beautiful, but also when you think about it, so ridiculous. Like the whole wedding ceremony was like placed in a weird rice paddy field looking area, and then they like put water down the aisle for her to walk down, and they have people turn and have little butterfly like hanging lights. Like, it's hard to like watching it for the first time, I'm like, wow, that's super crazy. But then like I thought about it and I'm like, wow, that's like so dumb. So that was really interesting. The extravagance of wealth and stuff. And I mean, just how much money they were wasting in this movie, like, was really cool. But also, like, I don't know. I thought that it was really the display of wealth was a really interesting part of this movie for me.
Right.
Especially since I mean, I don't know. I wanted to know what you thought about all the I mean, everyone was wearing brand name. Like, you know more about fashion, but I thought a lot of the people were wearing kind of ridiculous stuff, including the sister, who we should talk about, who, especially at the beginning, was wearing something dumb. But then there are also, like, I don't know, really smart callbacks. Like, at the beginning, Rachel picks out a blue and white dress, and her mom's like, no, those are for funerals. And then when they're burying that dead fish, Nick Young's sister is actually wearing a blue and white striped like shirt.
Right.
That's definitely a callback, and I thought that was really nice. And I mean, I picked up on it and I was like, ooh, that's a nice detail. But I don't know, I just kind of thoroughly enjoyed the movie through watching it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. I really liked the characters. If anything, I thought it was a bit predictable. Like, I knew they were going to get together somehow. And like, I mean, it's a rom-com. And like, the airplane proposal was actually one of my like, I was cracking up to this for like, I think I was alone in the theater cracking up when he ran into the airplane and started trying to propose to her, because like, it's such a rom-com thing to do that I was just thinking, like, it's one of the most troped, like, cliche things to catch her at the airplane and be like, no, I love you, that it just made me think of Owen Wilson, and I was just like, wow. And
wait, believe it or not, hold on, pause. I literally started doing that, like, during the film. Like, shit would happen, I'd be like, wow.
No, because it was such a, like, Owen Wilson rom-com thing. Like, I was just like, oh, running to the airport to, like, to like stop her from leaving or whatever and propose to her there. That's like so very rom-com. I was reading some people like saying that it was like so clever how they were making him like struggle with proposing with her because there were like a lot of people in his way, and it was like a representation of his life. And I'm like, no, that's not it. It's just a rom-com trope, and it's really funny and it's really dumb. And I was like, didn't he propose to her yesterday? And he did, but I guess the ring was different. And I was like, oh man, his mom approves but his grandma don't, so that's like the sequel.
I mean, like, okay, I don't know, like, I don't know. It's so funny because I don't know how to explain myself, right? Because they're like, wow. I feel like it's like, you know, I feel like the way I feel about this film is the way you feel about Boyhood. Like, I can understand, like, you're explaining these things to me, and I want to say, like, yes, like, I get it. And I do, and I think that, like, maybe if you had been whispering in my ear in the movie and been like, oh, you have to look at it this way, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But the reality is that I was watching it and I was like, oh my god, like, this fucking airplane thing is so cliche. I was like, I sat through the whole movie and they couldn't have given me a more cliche proposal. I was like, it's almost meta, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost
that's why I liked it. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be meta.
That's what I didn't like about it. I was like, fuck off. Like, I don't know. And it's funny because I'm such a sucker for rom-coms, right? Like, but I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, it just, none of the tricks really tricked me. A lot of the times I was just like, well, this is cliche. Like, oh wow, I kind of expected that. And like, for example, like in the book, right? He actually, you know how on the plane he explains how he wanted to propose to her?
Yeah.
Okay, in the book that actually does happen, except it's much more climactic because they go through all this trouble, right? They still have all this conflict. The mother still doesn't approve. It's a lot of shit, but he does this whole thing in like the cove on the beach and all this shit, and it's so extra and it's so romantic. But in the book, he actually gets interrupted. Like, right as he's about to propose, he gets interrupted by his mom and I think his grandma as well. And it's there's such a high building of tension that when it gets interrupted, like, the tension is even thicker. And like, I don't know, from the way I was explained to it, like, it was super climactic, and it was and that's the shit that I wished was in the film. Because to me, like, I don't know, I was like, okay, I saw her, she was like, I'm gonna leave, and I was like, false, like, something's gonna happen before you leave. And
Not
then
fair.
she's going to the airport, and I'm like, motherfucker's gonna be on the airline, and you see her struggling through coach. I was like, I knew it. You're just gonna see the contrast between her flying in first, and then flying back in coach. And she's like, oh, you can see a bit of a look of like discomfort, but you're like, this is my life. Like, she gets it. And then all of a sudden, you're like, you see Nick Young, and you're like, oh my god, like, I'm about to propose to you, and you're like, this motherfucker's about to pull the ring out. And it's so cliche that he was on the other side of the lane, and he was like, so being such a chivalrous gentleman, like helping these people out, and he's like being interrupted by all these people before he can propose. And I'm like, like, here we go again. Like, I know exactly, like, the play-by-play for me was like as if I was reading like elementary math, like. And so that to me, like, didn't sit the way I wanted it to. However, I understand that if I had viewed it from some sort of meta proposition the way you did, maybe I would have been more inclined to be like, oh, okay, this is kind of funny because they're making fun of it. But I didn't see it that way, so I think that's why. That being said, I'm open to the idea of rewatching it. I don't think that's gonna change much for me.
Yeah. No, I think that the movie was really self-aware. Honestly, I really liked what they did with her and the proposal. Maybe I didn't like that it was on a plane, but I mean, part of me loved it because of the meta. But I think that it was some of the best parts for me were that she, like, this game theory she's a game theory professor, right? She played Nick's mom, and I really do wonder if that was part of her plan the whole time. Seeing as, I mean, the scene where she loses in mahjong, I read up on it because I was like, I don't know what's happening, So she basically, for the people that don't know, she gives up the game. She has a winning hand, and the way to win in mahjong is to be the first to have a winning hand. And basically, she gives away one of the pieces that she needs to be a winning hand, for hers to be a winning hand, to Nick's mom, so that Nick's mom will win. And like, it's kind of supposed to represent like, hey, look, I did this for you. I could have beaten you. Like, just like, you know, I mean, it's really obvious, but it's like a really obvious, like, I mean, when you know what she did in the game of mahjong, it's like a very obvious parallel to her life. Like, it's not even subtle. Right. But, you know, it's like, you know, I could have married Nick and taken him away from you, but nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you win, but you already know that it's me. And I just kind of thought that, like, I don't know, I thought it made her much more of a, like, strong female character, because I really love how they took a backseat to Nick. I thought that Nick not being, like, really the main character, it was really her, was nice.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
Because she was very much, like, I thought that she was very much kind of a good, strong, realistic character, like, especially with the whole fish thing. She doesn't freak out. She's just like, I'm not gonna let them get it to me. Like, fuck them.
Right.
And like, she very much deals with things in a very, like, aggressive and, like, even, I don't know, powerful way. Like, she's very good at confrontational, and I just thought that she was, like, a really good lead character. So I like that. Before we stop, because we should stop soon, right, I wanted to mention, I thought the side plot with the sister was absolutely stupid and useless. Why was it there? It didn't need to be there. It just padded the runtime, and it really frustrated me anytime that came up, because I was like, you know, the sister really didn't contribute much to this film. Like, she could have just been in it for, like, a little bit, or she could have been combined with someone else. Like, you really didn't need her. From my understanding, she's in the book, and she's, like, a bigger character in the book, and her whole, like, divorce is a bigger thing in the book.
Yeah, actually,
but, like,
I think her story kind of takes a forefront at some point during the saga. So I understand. So if they're planning on continuing this, and I can kind of understand it, but I agree. I was not interested at all.
I was super frustrated, because it was. I feel like if it was fleshed out a bit more, maybe I would have cared, because it's nice to see the other side where basically, you know, like, Rachel is gonna get, like, being Nick's girlfriend is gonna get, or wife at this point, would get her all of these riches, but she's still, like, ambitious, and she's still got her own goals, and she, like, clearly doesn't really need the money.
Right.
Whereas, like, you know, this guy, he's in her same situation where he wants to be ambitious, but he can't be, and he just feels really, like, beaten down by all the money that's surrounding him.
Right.
Which I thought was an interesting perspective, because I hadn't really thought of it that way. But at the same time, like, it was not fleshed out enough. Like, if you were gonna add it, it should have been a bigger plot, and if not, just take it out, because really, I didn't care.
No, yeah, I agree.
There was an entire scene where she goes and buys $12 million earrings or something ridiculous.
Oh, yeah,
right? And, like, why was that there? Like, for her to grab them at the end and then leave with them? Like what? That wasn't relevant at all, ever. The earrings never came back. I thought when that happened, I was like, ooh, they're gonna disappear, and you know, Rachel's gonna be blamed for it, but it's gonna be the husband or whatever. That was my first thought.
Right.
But nah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I can agree to that. And I can also agree to the portrayal as Rachel as, like, a strong female character. And I do think that mahjong scene is actually quite impactful.
Did you understand it?
No. At first, I was like, did she win or did she lose? But in thinking about it, I was like, game theory, blah, blah, blah. And then you explain more about it. I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I think that it's quite an impactful scene. And I like the portrayal of her character, because at no point does she really, like, give too much of a fuck, right? But yeah, okay. I mean, overall, like, without getting more into it, I think we've shared our opinions. I might rewatch it.
Last thing I want to say, though, is for all those, like, Chinese American viewers or Asian American listeners, I know I probably don't get it. I know I'm pretty sure that I don't like it for the same reasons that you guys will. But regardless, good movie.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm glad that you shared that. I'm glad that you pointed that out. But clearly, cross-culturally, you can still enjoy this film. So if you haven't watched it yet, give it a watch. I think it's good. Not only, even if you don't know if you're going to like it or not, just to support this film as it progresses on forward, because we want to see more diversity within Hollywood. I think that's the trend that we're trying to hit. And with that being said, I guess I want to conclude the topic of the week, and I want to transition towards a song of the week. I know we've featured Tommy Gun before. I'm going to do it again just because there is an EP coming up, and I want to kind of hype it up before it comes out. So Tommy, again, from his latest EP, I thought, again, I mean, I produced the whole thing, so I guess I can't say that I dislike the track, but
But it's a good one.
But it's a good one. It's a good EP. Highly suggest y'all check it out if you haven't yet. But the song that I did want to highlight is called Pass the Weed, and the reason why I want to highlight is because there is a music video coming out, spoilers, and we'll be talking about it when it does come out, shot and edited by me. But I want to give y'all a sense of the song, listen to it, vibe with it, and yeah, and this will be like in good preparation for more projects to come along. Anyways, this is Tommy Gunn's Pass the Weed. We will be right back.
And I'm stuck in a video game. Carnival nights all the same. Went to school woods during the summer. Got perfect attendance. My future slipping in right direction. Cause I left a long time ago. Done tripping like dominoes. I get the diamond go. I'm a diamond stone. I'm a right wall stone. Yo.
Pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the trees, pass there. Pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the trees, pass there.
Passive thinking, rapid blinking, slowly sinking in 16 and 16 days. I shine on the darkest days. Light so bright brings the UVA. Ayy. This the national anthem to the pot demanders. I'm never gonna skip though. I keep it sit info like my J's and B's. Homie pulls out the scales, measuring the G's. It's in my jeans. That snake that's in my jeans. I stitch and weave the sticky weed. Cop a pack of the Lucy's. Hop in the 2 C's. Got help with my THC. Soldiers.
Pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the trees, pass there. Pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the trees, pass there.
A junior next year at 16, I'ma grab the wheel of the brand new Audi. Cause making music making me call him Mari. Don't call him sorry, my numbers change. Not the 10-digit dial, but the Forbes page. The Lord say all my blessings come in disguise, but mine seems so evident. It's not so elegant, that will last forever. Take the Tommy and the gun, 2 and 2 together. I'm in a rotation on the humble path to tour other nations. Cause people dig a style they can relate with. Rapping on the beat, saying Pablo created. 2 hours ago it hit ya. Moments that stick like a Polaroid picture. I did some things taboo, but now it's fiction. Calm mouth, feel like I'm losing my diction. Drowsy like 3 whole codeine bottles. Feeling alive when my mind boggles. Change the fall of gravity, my pet's name's Waddles. Go to school at night, that's twilight morrow. Open my eyes with pupils bloodshot. Spain spot where the ops don't stop us. That's a different story in the life of Tommy. Events that structured my life and taught me to be myself and chase that money. Best version of myself so no one can stop me.
Pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the weed, pass the trees, pass there. Pass the weed, pass the weed,
pass the weed,
pass the weed,
pass the trees,
pass
there.
And we We are back. Thanks for listening to Tommy Gunn's song Pass the Weed. Again, produced by me. Pretty simple song, but I like the lyricism in it. I guess we don't have to comment too much about it. I'll be talking more about it probably when the music video releases, etc., etc. But please check out the tape. It's not just supporting me, but it's supporting local artists, local smaller artists from places like Englewood, New Jersey, in this case, right? That I think deserve more spotlight. And I don't mean that. Obviously, I don't mean that in a way that like, oh, it's because it benefits me. Obviously, like, it benefits me in a way, but I'm saying it more so because like I like the talent that is exhibited through this person that I've gotten to know very well, and I think y'all should check him out.
Yeah, like I'm gonna just mention it. I mean, I might have a little bit of bias, but less so than you. I'm always real about what I like, what I don't, especially when it comes to your music, because I'm kind of picky.
Right.
And I think that you and Tommy are doing great stuff. Pass the Weed's a great song that I think is really catchy and could totally catch on. And really, I recommend you guys listen to the rest of his stuff. The EP is really good. I mean, again, this is more of an outside opinion. I wasn't involved in the production. I wasn't involved in anything. The album came out. Juan told me to listen to it, and I was like, this is good. And I mean, I've showed it to friends who absolutely think that they like are like shocked when I'm like, yeah, no, this is produced by my best friend. Because the beats are literally, I mean, they're amazing. Like, you gotta listen, get to the end, listen to outro. You already know.
I appreciate that. Appreciate it a lot, especially coming from you. But yeah, please support. And I was gonna mention one more thing about that. But yeah, I mean, it's all done by us, right? Like, local artists, New Jersey, all production by me, and then all the writing is by Tommy. Oh yeah, and just like, if you're more interested about it, I'll definitely leave the link in the bio for the SoundCloud, but it's also available on Apple Music and Spotify. It's called Tape 147 by Tommy Gunn. Song is called Pass the Weed. You can see it on Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, SoundCloud. It's all over the place. So if you don't know where to listen to it, now you do. Okay. I guess for the sake of time, because I think we spoke a lot more than we thought we were with Crazy Rich Asians. Wanted to
let's read out what
yeah, I think it's just worth noting because I like keeping up with the stuff, right? But Spike did comment back on Boots Riley's critique of Black Klansmen, and Spike Lee basically responded in a way. So he said that, of course, like, I mean, they both have respect for each other, right? But we know that, and this is just a recap from the episode in which we spoke about this, but Boots Riley heavily critiqued the film because he twisted the story to make the white cops in the film much more, how do I put it? Sympathetic towards the black race, and much more willing to fight against racism, especially in a small town. And it was just a portrayal basically of like black and white cops getting along, and going up against the KKK, which, if you want to know more information about like what the controversy is, I would watch our next episode, because I'm not going to get into it right now.
Last episode.
Right, yeah, last episode. But I will say, so Spike Lee basically said that he felt that, obviously the critique is a critique, whatever, but he said he was like, look at my films, right? They've been critical of the police on many occasions, right? I mean, Spike Lee, very controversial director. And this is undoubted. I mentioned this during the Black Klansman episode, but he is definitely someone who's not afraid to critique the social and political works within America. He's always done it in all of his films. Huge activist for the African American population here in America. He's been a forefront for racial conversation, and we can't discredit that. And he said, like, look at my films, right? Like, I've been criticizing the police, but on the other hand, and this is quoting him, but on the other hand, I'm never going to say that all police are corrupt and that all police hate people of color. I'm not going to say that. That's what he said. He said, I can't say that because it's just not true. Because he said, and quoting again, we need police, and unfortunately, police in a lot of instances have not upheld the law. They have broken the law. But I'd also like to say that black people are not a monolithic group. he's like, I have a lot of black people that say, how can we have like a bourgeois person like Spike Lee do a Malcolm X? And the reality is that like he's right? Like he's talking about how like not all black people are the same, and in that way, like not all interactions between black and white, color and white, whatever, however you want to put it together, it's not always going to be negative. And he went on to say that he wanted to portray this film this way because he wants to start the conversation of not let's keep creating tension between black and white, and more so let's look at this as an inspiration to push forward and collaborate together, right? And that's what he said. He's like, basically, he said if you look at civil rights movements, right, and people were criticizing him because at the end he was showing white people, like the police force, right? They were helping the protagonist who was black to catch this really racist cop on the police force, and people were criticizing him, saying that that was not true. And he said, if you look at the civil rights movement, white people died in Mississippi, Alabama, Kent State, during the Vietnam protests, and white people have died for justice. So it's not a matter of saying I can't put, and he quotes, I can't put Heather Heyer at the end of the film because she's not black. He said that it's unfair to say that all white people haven't contributed, because that's just not true. A lot of people have been allies during these situations, and he wanted to make note of that, and to again, his whole concept was, let me make a statement piece that is in one way obviously a political and racial commentary, but in another way, let me try to spawn a new conversation in which we're talking about the collaboration of black and white and not just the confrontation between black and white. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. I think we actually mentioned this last week, or I talked about how that might be the reason that he decided to portray it like that.
Right.
That being said, I still do think that maybe it wasn't the right movie. Maybe it wasn't the right... It's definitely the right time,
right? But
maybe it wasn't the right movie, because
or the right story,
or the right story to use this for, because there were he could have easily come up with a fake story to do something like this, or even found a real story where there was collaboration with the cops.
Right.
If he was trying to make a movie to have that kind of idea to it, he definitely could have found a story that did actually happen that way, you know. In this case, it's kind of, I feel like it's because most people won't look it up, because most people haven't heard of it. It's kind of glorifying this police department that, you know, apparently was very racist, and in fact was trying to stop a whole bunch of black organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, it's kind of just lying to us,
right?
He almost certainly could have found a story in which there is real collaboration between the cops and black people, and I mean, that's not
the right way to put it.
That's not the right way to put it.
Black and white cops or black and white people.
Yeah, black and white cops, black and white people, just kind of like between race relations, right?
Mm-hmm.
That actually helped society. There's almost certainly cases like that what he could have used, real cases, real interesting cases,
right? In which the merit would go to people that deserve it.
Yeah, like this might have been an interesting story, but it didn't even happen the way that he said it did, or portrays it. So in the end, it's almost so based on a true story that it's like just kind of a lie, and that's what bothers me about it.
Right. Yeah, I feel like when we have situations like this, right, in which we do see opposing sides collaborate for a common cause to end hate or end discrimination of any sort, I feel like those people sometimes go unheard, and this might have been an opportunity to shed light on the underdogs who actually did make a difference, and to take a story like this, which was not that case at all, and to turn it into a glorified sort of like political statement, definitely leaves me uneasy as well. I will agree with that.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, clearly his main talking point in this movie was the KKK.
Right.
So he didn't really need, or not the KKK, but like white supremacism, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many stories on white supremacism there are that he could have found where he could have probably put that same footage at the end and would have been just as relevant.
Right.
It's just kind of insulting, I think, to the people who did work to improve race relations, to kind of use this as his story.
Yeah, no, I agree. I can see that. And
Like and this is coming from someone who absolutely enjoyed the movie.
Right, you're right. No, me too. I loved it.
Yeah, you liked it a bit more than I did, but
Yeah, I thought
you
for
did like it
now
more
it's
than
my
I-
favorite film of the year.
Nah, you can't beat the. Oh, I was about to spoil Sorry to Bother You. You can't beat Sorry to Bother You. You can't beat
No, no. Okay,
Dude,
I
you
will
know
say-
what I was gonna say.
Yes,
though.
I know exactly what you were gonna say. I love Sorry to Bother You. Don't get me wrong. I think they're both like maybe like a hair of a difference in terms of whether I liked one more or not. But Black Klansman took the cake for me personally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Um,
Also, y'all should watch Annihilation. This is so off topic. That's my second favorite movie of the year. It was my favorite movie of the year until Sorry to Bother You. Annihilation. Go watch. Good. We might do an episode on it eventually.
Yeah, I think I want to. I've been hearing more shit about it, and I do want to watch it. So we might do an episode soon about it. So yeah, I think that's it. That's week 9. Week 10 coming up next week, which I think is bizarre that we've been doing this for 2.5 months, right?
Yeah. No. Ridiculous.
So yeah, thanks for listening again. As always, check out our social media at gobeklitepe. What is it? Yeah, gobeklitepe podcast on Instagram.
Yeah. For now, even DM us advice, things to do, things
Yeah,
you want,
literally
things
anything.
you want to hear. Just I don't know, things
This
you
is
want
an
us to
open
talk about.
conversation. This is an open conversation. We love feedback. We love messages.
Up and coming artists, we'll listen to your music. Maybe we'll sponsor. We'll feature you.
Yeah.
Sponsor you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to do that too, 100%.
We're also down to have guests. I mean, there's a lot we could do with this show.
Yeah, we have no boundaries here. So if you ever want to feature, if you ever want to just send music our way, whatever you want, like whoever you are, if you know me in person or you want to like DM us, I don't even give a fuck. Like, just give us suggestions. We're always down for it. Again, follow us on social media, personal accounts, or the Go Back Tepe account. Watch our listen to our other episodes if you haven't, and make sure to catch us on next week. Which what is our media for next week? What did you say it was?
Searching.
Okay, the film Searching, which is coming out this week, actually, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna try to catch it. It's coming out on Thursday, so we're trying to catch it early this time, because we always tend to do these a week late. So I'm gonna try to catch it on Thursday, and hopefully at least one of us will have seen it by Sunday.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to catch it as well. So now that I'm in New York, I feel like it'll be a little easier. So
Yeah, fair.
So yeah, thanks for listening again as always, and we will catch you on the next week of the Gobekli Tepe podcast. Peace out.